The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Good afternoon and welcome to Chit-Chatting with Jocelyn and Karen. Every 2 weeks you get the honor of having both of us host this show and bringing you all sorts of just wonderful stories, what's really going on. We're kind of going behind the scenes, and today is no exception to that rule. We're going to thank you for coming, Karen. Thank you for driving down to come do the show with me. We're back together again.
Absolutely.
I want to kick this off with, we are seeing that elected officials are selecting what inalienable rights we are allowed to have and not have on a whim, whatever they feel. Like, wait a minute, today you have no free speech. Today, no freedom of religion. This is what's happening. This is what they're doing. I'm not going to sugarcoat it anymore. Elected officials, your job, an elected official's job is to protect the rights of the people, their inalienable rights, not select what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do and say, think, or do.
Right. Well, and so I love this. I want a limited government that will fit inside the Constitution. Oh, what a wonderful idea that we would operate by the founding document that is the law of the land. It's not given to anybody else. It is the law of the land. And if you read it carefully, it is what we have instituted to give to our government parameters on what they can do, and everything else is left up to we the people. And if you go into the history of New Hampshire, you'll find that, or even of the United States, when they were ratifying the Constitution and they were getting ready to actually sign this document, the state of New Hampshire was one of the last holdouts. We were state number 9. You needed 2/3 of the states, 2/3 or 3/4 of the states to approve the Constitution before it could be totally legally adopted, right? New Hampshire's one holdout was that it was the people that would set the rules and regulations, not the government, and that it had to be instituted in it very clearly. So they were really reaffirming what is now the 10th Amendment in the Bill of Rights. That which is not in the Constitution that gives the government, the federal government, their duties is left to the people and the individual states.
And what we're looking at is a complete reversal.
Right.
Which leads into what's going on.
Well, when they come knocking at your door,
whether that's red flags or...
Well, for example...
DHHS.
Right.
DCYF.
DCYF, yeah.
Comes knocking at your door.
The thing of it is that I could pick up the phone and make an allegation about you, and maybe I'm saying that you're beating your mother, and I'm a neighbor and I happen to see you beating your mother. And DCYF or Health and Human Services could come knocking on your door to investigate. You have to know what your rights are, because that anonymous phone call can cause all kinds of headaches. And I have seen it happen so many times over, where children are removed from their homes, or someone comes in and makes these allegations, and your mother is removed from your home. I know of incidents like that. And your whole world is turned upside down. You have to know that they cannot come into your home unless they have the proper documentation. And the only way you know that is to know your Constitution.
Exactly.
And Chris Ann Hall is, didn't she make a statement recently
She
about
did.
what you needed?
Chris Ann Hall is a constitutional law professor. She was also a full-time prosecutor at Broward County, which is a very, very, very big and busy county down in Florida. And she just wrote an article and sent it to us. And it says, knocking on your door. It is even more important today to know your rights. Please read through the list. This is a very extremely smart lady. Here, the name of the article is Your Power to Trespass. If a government agent or assignee comes to your property, it will be important to know those who wish to protect their privacy and their property to know their exact rights. You do not have to answer any questions or make any statements to any government agent or assignee. Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and corresponding section of your state constitution. Remember, I've told you, you always have a state constitution and a federal constitution. Simply asking an agent or an assignee to identify themselves does not waive your rights. So if you say to them, and what is your name, ma'am?
And do you have any proper identification?
Proper identification. If you ask them that, that is not you saying you want to engage in further conversation. You have not waived your rights.
Correct.
You have the right to be free from any government agent or assignee entering your property, your home, or your business without a properly obtained warrant. Fourth and Fifth Amendments of the U.S. Constitution and the corresponding sections of your state constitution, which would be New Hampshire. Simply demanding a copy of the warrant. Do you have a copy of that warrant, ma'am? So I'm asking the person coming to my house. Does not, because I'm engaging in a conversation and asking for that warrant, does not mean I'm saying, okay, you can come in and you can serve the warrant. I'm simply asking, I'm not giving up my rights. You have the right to tell any government agent or assignee to leave your property, respectfully, if they cannot produce a properly obtained warrant. By simply demanding an agent or assignee, if I demand to leave my property, I need you to leave my property now, I am not waiving my rights.
Correct. Correct.
Yep. If a government agent or assignee refuses to leave your property or returns to your property after being asked to leave or warned against entering or returning, so you have to be clear on your language, people, that agent or that assignee has committed the crime of trespass and is subject to arrest. Respectfully, properly, legally, you must leave my property now. Please do not return. Do not come back.
Right.
Yep.
And so let me ask you this.
So hang on one sec. And you do have the right to record, because this comes up all the time.
Oh, yes.
Through audio, video, and photographic recording, any agent, any assignee, that includes your town clerk and your council people and your selectmen, any of them, you have the right to videotape, record, whatever it is, with or without consent of that agent or assignee. And there's multiple court opinions to recognize that in your First Amendment rights. That plainly protects you for filming officers and public agents. You have the right to do that. And it goes on. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I just wanted to know, and that was really a very important point. If they have a warrant, they can serve you with that warrant, but do you have to let them in even so?
No.
Okay. So we need to know, and if you don't know your Constitution, you don't know what your rights are. And if you don't know your Constitution, you don't know how you can go about finding out the laws of the land as well. Mm-hmm. But you also need to also start looking at, become familiar with the revised standard or statutes annotated that are on the website of nh.gov, and you can go in there and start looking at the different sections so that when you do have a question about, is there a law about this, at least you can go in and start searching and finding out. And finding out that, for example, you don't have to give any information to a police officer when they show up and there's been an accident, a shooting, any sort of law enforcement activity that goes on, and it involves you personally. You can give them your name and your phone number, how to get in touch with you, and then that's it.
And
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will answer any and of all of your questions once I have spoken to counsel, and I will get back to you, or they will, within 48 hours.
Right. And you have to remember, too, so there's a psychological impact to you when anything like this happens, because it's a shock to your system. Mm-hmm. And you need time to be able to gather your thoughts, because even for a police officer who is involved in a shooting of some sort,
they make no statements till they've spoken to the appropriate authorities.
Right, because they have to have time to stop and really gather their thoughts about them. I mean, it's a shock to the system, and you don't necessarily know exactly what's going on. So somebody fires a question at you, and you're still trying to
process
it in your own mind. So you need time, and you should absolutely ask for that time. Mm-hmm. And be very respectful. But yes, I will answer any questions you have after I've had an opportunity to speak with my attorney and to gather my thoughts.
Or in some cases, in the case of an accident, get checked out at the hospital. Yes. And make sure that I'm okay before I start answering all these questions. And this is not being derogatory to any LEOs, anything like that. Married to a police officer for 34 years, so...
the thing of
what's
it
right is right and wrong, and what says in the Constitution is for everybody.
Right, and the thing of it is, though, as you said, go when you've had a jolt to your system, whether it's a minor fender bender. You still need to make sure that you haven't been jolted in some way, mm-hmm. because with your seat belts and you go forward. That seatbelt impacts your body. It makes certain things happen, and you really need to make sure that you're being checked out and that you're okay. Mm-hmm. And it does shuffle your brain. I mean, you think about a baby being what we used to call a shaken baby syndrome. They found out that even on the football field, when you get that impact, sometimes mm-hmm. it shakes your brain. So
absolutely,
by all means.
So tell us about this wonderful book.
Here is this great book that I think it's great because I put it together. But I've wanted all the time to have a pocket constitution, and it's great to have the federal constitution. But how many times do you get a question about our New Hampshire Constitution? So this book has not only the federal constitution, but it also has the current New Hampshire Constitution and the original one that was signed in 1783 by our founders, so that you can actually do a little comparison and see what there is. And if you compare the U.S. Constitution to the New Hampshire Constitution, you'll find out that there are 39 Bill of Rights in the New Hampshire Constitution, while we only have 10 in the federal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you need to know what's here. It was written, the constitutions were written so that the man on the street could understand them, and that he could, or she could have a discourse about them and be able to discuss them. And so when the legislature comes out with these omnibus bills that are hundreds of pages long, that's in strict violation, I think, of the Constitution, which the original intent was so that you and I could have a conversation and we didn't have to be legal scholars.
Correct. And at one time, the legislature is where you took your redress of grievance, and they were to hear them every morning before they started their sessions.
Right.
Which is another show where we're going to have Daniel Richard come in and explain to you exactly what they have swept under the carpet.
Exactly.
Told you that this is the way it is when it's not. Knowing your Constitution is very important, and understanding that the state constitution, that the state is sovereign. You're seeing it actually unfold in front of you with the November 3rd election.
Yes.
Where you see in Arizona, where you see in New Hampshire, where you see in Pennsylvania and Georgia and a few other states, where the governor and the justice system, remember I've told you that you've got the three forms of government in your state that matches exactly with the three branches, of government in the federal government.
Right.
So the only people that are allowed to make law ever, whether it's state or federal, is the legislature, Congress and Senate.
Right.
No one else is allowed to make laws. So, how in this last year and a half did the governors and the judicial system, the branch,
and the
make
Secretary
law?
of States in some cases,
Got
right?
Secretary of State and Attorney General sticking their noses in this. The only person allowed to make law was the legislature. And if the legislature chooses to put their head in the sand, if they choose to ignore the Constitution, if they choose to push the few that do speak for we the people, as in Karen's husband and a few others, very small basket, it is not the right of the governor or the judicial system to speak for them and make law. But yet we've seen this for the last year and a half with continued emergency orders, which really belong to another department, continued lockdowns, continual rules and regulations that is not their part. This is where you need to know your Constitution, and this is where the state constitution is first and foremost.
Exactly. And so if you need a copy of this, you can go to KarenTesterman.com and you can find this on sale there. And it's wonderful because it also has this little set of questions in the back that I absolutely love. These are important questions that you should ask before there's any legislation done. And let me find it real quick, because if there's a piece of legislation, the very first question, and there's 5 questions, does the Constitution allow it? So if you know what's in here, then you know when you go, even if you're going to a legislator and asking them if they would submit a bill, does the Constitution allow it?
Correct. That would apply somewhat to school boards as well.
Exactly.
So you can use that everywhere.
Right. And there are laws that prevent the school board or the schools from teaching anti-American curriculums. Like 1619, like critical race theory, like social emotional learning. There are things that they should not be teaching that are prohibited by our laws, but you won't know that unless you go and you start researching it yourself.
So grab one of those books, look it up online, start easy, start small. This is your Constitution. This is your rights. And it doesn't mean you've got to be a jerk about it. It doesn't mean you got to be pompous about it. It doesn't mean you got to be a know-it-all. What it means is that collectively, we the people are the ones that elect them. We the people are the ones that pay the taxes. We the people are the ones that vote. We the people are the ones that they are supposed to speak for, and they're not. They're speaking for themselves. They're putting words in your mouth. They're putting words in your mouth. They're telling us what we're going to think. Well, you've now elected me, so I'm going to do what's best for you.
No. And the other
And there
part
are
of
people
it,
that I've actually had a couple legislators say that to me.
oh yeah,
Really?
Excuse
You want
me.
to say that again? Let me get. Hang on.
But there's
Did you say that again?
right. But the reality is that it's our personal responsibility. And if you look at the Declaration of Independence, it says when our government becomes tyrannical and steps outside of the boundaries that we have set for them, it is not only our right, but our duty to remove them and to do something about it, to take action about it, to make sure that our government is not tyrannical. I mean, our founders were very, very specific about that.
And it's lasted this whole entire time.
245 years before we started to be upside down on it, right?
And it is appropriate for today.
Yes.
It was totally written accurately and to last the ages. So we need to get together and we need to understand we pay their salaries. We used to joke about that, but it's true. When they say, well, I only get $1, I'm thinking maybe it's $1 too much.
Yeah, exactly.
And I elected you to speak for me, to represent me. I did not elect you to tell me what to do and what I believe and what we, the people, have decided what we want done in our state, what we want done in our schools, what we want done in our hospitals, what we want, period. I mean, I don't know how to say it any clearer. You have lost control, and I hear people whining, take back the control. You have it. You've had it all along.
Well, and so we have the freedom to go ahead and do various things, but we have a responsibility to make sure that we're not infringing on somebody else's freedoms.
Correct.
That we're not violating somebody else's rights. So our liberty really is very important. It does say that we were given our inalienable rights of life, liberty, and property, or the pursuit of happiness. It doesn't guarantee the outcome. It only says that we have the opportunity to have this. It doesn't say that we have the opportunity for life. It says that we are given our inalienable right to life. So we shouldn't be taking somebody else's life, no matter what. And then we have liberty. That means we have responsibilities. It means that we exercise those responsibilities, but we have to know what those responsibilities are, and we are responsible for our own person. I can't be responsible for you.
No.
And when you make a decision that I don't approve of, then that's my problem, not yours.
Correct.
And there should be no one telling us that you're essential and you're not essential, that you should be a winner and that you should be a loser. No one should be telling us.
You can work and you can't work.
Right.
You can have the job and you can't have the job. The essential and not essential is a big one. And I think most of
and
you
you
are smart
can breathe
enough to know
and
what
you
we're talking
can't
about.
breathe.
Correct. And you know where we're going with that one. So know your rights, be respectful, join together and do what's right. Follow the Constitution, follow the law, follow the 10 Commandments, and expect everybody else to.
Yeah.
If you upset me, apologize. If I upset you, I apologize. But your rights don't supersede mine, and my rights don't supersede yours. And the government's right does not have say on what our rights are. And you need to know that. They are elected to protect our inalienable rights, period.
So did you want to go into your little video real quick before?
I think I'll save that for next time because we're down to 46 seconds. So make sure you join us next time because I've got some incredible video that's going to blow your mind. It's kind of orbs and UFOs and plasma. See you next time. Thanks for joining Jocelyn and Karen on Chit Chatting.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun. We always get to discuss a lot of different things and put you on the spot because we expect you to find those little tidbits that stir you and that you go out and do your own research and then you take action because we can't operate in our country if you don't take action.
Awesome. See you next time.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.